Ethan Carter had spent most of his life on the wide, open ranch in Montana, a place that felt endless yet strangely confining. The land had belonged to his grandfather long before Ethan was born, and every fence post, every weathered barn board, carried the weight of that history. After his grandfather passed away, the ranch was left entirely in Ethan's hands. Neighbors expected him to sell it, to leave for the city like so many others had done. But Ethan stayed. To him, abandoning the land felt like betraying the man who had raised him. Each morning began before sunrise. Ethan saddled his horse, checked the cattle, and repaired whatever the winter time had broken during the night. His hands were rough, his shoulders strong, shaped by years of hard work. The ranch demanded everything from him, and he gave it without complaint. He believed this was what his grandfather would have wanted: discipline, endurance, and loyalty to the soil. The land had fed their family for generations, and Ethan saw it as his responsibility to keep it alive at any cost. Yet despite the beauty around him, Ethan lived in quiet loneliness. The ranch house echoed with emptiness. The long wooden table where his grandfather once told stories now gathered dust. At night, the wind howled across the plains, and the silence felt heavier than the work of the day. Ethan told himself he did not need companionship. He convinced himself that the land was enough, that love was a distraction from duty. Still, there were moments when he paused in the fields, watching the sunset, and felt an ache he could not name. His grandfather had been a strict man, but not a cold one. As a child, Ethan remembered sitting beside him near the fireplace, listening to stories of survival, loss, and perseverance. "This land is our legacy," his grandfather used to say. "If you take care of it, it will take care of you." Those words had shaped Ethan's entire life. He never questioned them. He never considered that legacy might mean more than ownership and labor. Now, standing alone on the ranch, Ethan carried those lessons like a burden. He rarely left the property, rarely spoke to anyone beyond what was necessary. The world beyond the ranch felt distant and unimportant. In his mind, protecting the land was the highest form of respect he could offer his grandfather. He did not realize that by shutting himself away, he was slowly losing the warmth and purpose that once filled the ranch. As winter faded and spring approached, the land began to change. Grass pushed through the soil, and the air softened with promise. Ethan noticed the shift but did not understand its meaning. He believed the ranch would remain the same as long as he worked hard enough. What he did not know was that change was coming, not to the land, but to his heart. And with it would come a lesson his grandfather had never put into words. That legacy was not only built with soil and sweat, but with love. The storm came suddenly, rolling over the Montana plains with dark clouds and sharp wind. Ethan was securing the barn doors when he noticed a car stopped near the ranch road, its hazard lights blinking weakly through the rain. He hesitated for a moment. Visitors were rare, and he preferred it that way. Still, his grandfather's voice echoed in his mind, reminding him that no one should be left stranded in such weather. Pulling his coat tighter, Ethan walked toward the road. Inside the car sat a woman, her face tense but calm. She introduced herself as Clara. Her car had broken down miles from the nearest town, and the storm had made it impossible to walk anywhere safely. Ethan offered her shelter without asking many questions. He brought her to the ranch house, lit the fireplace, and handed her a dry blanket. The house, so used to silence, suddenly felt different. The sound of another person's footsteps echoed softly against the wooden floors. Clara was quiet but observant. She thanked Ethan sincerely and did not push for conversation. That alone surprised him. Most people filled silence with unnecessary words, but Clara seemed comfortable letting moments pass naturally. As the storm continued outside, she helped prepare a simple meal using what Ethan had in his kitchen. The act was small, yet it brought warmth to the space in a way Ethan had not felt in years. Over the next few days, the rain damaged the roads, and Clara remained at the ranch while waiting for repairs. She offered to help, and though Ethan initially resisted, he eventually agreed. Clara did not treat the ranch like a burden. She asked questions, listened carefully, and respected the work Ethan did. When he spoke about the cattle or the land, she listened with genuine interest, not politeness. Slowly, Ethan found himself talking more than he usually did. One afternoon, Clara asked about the old photographs lining the hallway. Ethan explained they were of his grandfather, working the land, standing proudly beside the ranch house, smiling in ways Ethan had nearly forgotten. Clara studied the pictures thoughtfully and said the ranch felt alive with history. Her words caught Ethan off guard. He had always seen the land as something to protect, not something that carried emotion. In the evenings, they sat near the fire as the storm eased into quiet nights. Clara shared stories of her travels, of places she had lived and people she had met. She spoke of loss and new beginnings with honesty. Ethan listened, realizing how small his world had become. For the first time in years, he felt connected to someone beyond the land. Though he did not admit it, Ethan sensed a shift within himself. The ranch no longer felt like a solitary responsibility. With Clara there, it felt like a place that could hold conversation, laughter, and understanding. He did not know how long she would stay, but he knew one thing for certain: her presence had already begun to change him. Weeks passed, and the days on the ranch began to feel different. The mornings were still early, the work still hard, but with Clara's presence, the silence no longer pressed down on Ethan's chest. One evening, as they mended fences together under the golden light of sunset, Clara asked softly, "Ethan, why do you live like this, all alone?" Ethan paused. The question was simple, yet it touched something he had buried long ago. "Because the land, it's my legacy," he replied. His voice was quiet, almost defensive. "This ranch has been in my family for generations. My grandfather taught me to protect it, to work it, to survive on it. That's what matters." Clara nodded, understanding more than Ethan expected. "I see the work," she said gently. "I see the fences, the cattle, the fields. But I also see the people who built this place, who lived and loved here. Isn't that part of your legacy too?" Her words lingered in Ethan's mind. He thought about his grandfather, not as a farmer but as a man who told stories by the fireplace, who laughed loudly, who celebrated small victories, and who shared meals with neighbors and family alike. Ethan realized he had focused so much on the soil, the fences, and the routines that he had forgotten the most important lessons his grandfather had tried to teach: connection, care, and love. For the first time, Ethan understood that legacy was more than land and labor. It was the people whose lives intertwined with this place, the bonds forged through hardship and joy alike. The ranch had survived through dedication, yes, but it had also survived because of the love that had been poured into it, quietly, steadily, over decades. His grandfather's hands had tilled the soil, but his heart had nurtured those around him. Ethan felt a quiet shift within himself. He began to see Clara's presence as more than temporary. She had brought warmth to the house, laughter to the quiet nights, and understanding to a heart he had kept locked away. Slowly, he allowed himself to share not only the work of the ranch but also the memories that lived in every room, every corner. The stories of his grandfather, the lessons of resilience, and even his own fears and doubts found a listener in Clara. That evening, as the fire crackled and the stars appeared above the Montana plains, Ethan realized that he no longer saw the ranch as a place of solitude. It was a home, waiting to be filled with life beyond the chores and the routines. Love, he finally understood, was not a distraction from responsibility, it was the responsibility itself, the invisible force that gave meaning to the work, the land, and the legacy. And as Clara smiled, resting against his shoulder, Ethan felt an unfamiliar but welcome certainty. The ranch would endure, not because he worked it tirelessly, but because he was learning the true lesson his grandfather had left behind. Legacy was not just soil and sweat, but hearts and love intertwined, growing quietly, persistently, like the grass through the earth after a long winter. Spring was in full bloom, and the Montana ranch glowed with life. Ethan rode along the fence lines early in the morning, the crisp air filling his lungs. For the first time in years, the work felt lighter, not because it was easier, but because the ranch was no longer a place of solitude. Clara had become a part of its rhythm, her laughter and presence threading warmth through every corner of the house. When Clara's car was finally repaired, the thought of her leaving stirred an unexpected unease in Ethan. He realized he had grown attached to her, not just as a companion through chores, but as someone who had shown him a different perspective on life, love, and legacy. He remembered the countless mornings they spent mending fences, cooking meals, and watching sunsets in silence, moments that had transformed his understanding of the ranch, and himself. The day she prepared to leave, Ethan found himself standing by the barn, hands gripping the wooden rail, unsure how to put his feelings into words. Clara approached with her usual calm, carrying a small bag and a soft smile. "I'll miss this place," she said. "And you," she added, eyes steady but warm. Ethan swallowed hard, his mind racing. For so long, he had measured his life by the work he did, the land he tended, the fences he repaired. He had thought that loyalty meant solitude, that dedication required isolation. But now he knew that true dedication was different. It was about letting someone share the burden, the joy, and the life that the land offered. Without hesitation, he spoke. "Clara, stay. Not just as help, but as part of this home. As part of this life." His voice was firm, yet carried a tremor of vulnerability he hadn't shown anyone in years. She paused, the wind catching her hair, her eyes searching his. Then she smiled, a quiet, radiant smile that made the wide plains seem smaller, more intimate. "I was hoping you'd ask," she said. That evening, they walked together through the fields, hand in hand. The ranch stretched endlessly around them, but it no longer felt empty. Ethan could see the sunrise spilling gold across the plains, reflecting off the barn's worn boards and the rolling hills beyond. He thought of his grandfather, who had worked this land tirelessly, and he finally understood the true lesson left behind. The soil was important, but love was essential. Love sustained the legacy, gave it meaning, and ensured that it would endure through generations. Together, they tended the cattle, repaired fences, and shared stories by the fire, weaving new memories alongside the old. Ethan no longer measured life by labor alone, he measured it by connection, laughter, and care. The ranch, once a place of lonely duty, had become a home filled with warmth, hope, and love. As the stars emerged in the Montana sky, Ethan felt a deep sense of peace. His grandfather's legacy was alive, not only in the land, but in the hearts that nurtured it. And for the first time, Ethan understood that a legacy built with love could never be lost, for it lived on in every shared sunrise, every gentle touch, and every promise kept. The ranch would thrive, not just as soil beneath their feet, but as a testament to life, to love, and to the enduring power of hearts connected.